you know, maybe
You
it's
can continue to do it sustainable forever. Just keep doing what you're doing, and it's always going to be there in the same process in the same way.
Mhm. Keep it at an even keel. It just keeps going at that same level. So how do we do that? How do we work in our kitchens in a way that doesn't detract from the environment and even our health, really? Because when you branch out in the word sustainable, we're also trying to sustain ourselves. We are part of the earth. We are part of the environment. We are part of nature. And I think that over time, we have gotten this God complex, I believe, a little bit, that we humans set ourselves apart from the rest of the world, the rest of the beings, the rest of the organisms on this planet. And the fact is, we could not survive, as we're beginning to find out. We can't survive without the interplay of all those things, even the tiniest of insects that you're taking pictures of on Friday. So, or bringing pictures of on Friday. So sustainable, how do we walk lightly? And if you're familiar with the 7th generation products, have you ever heard of those?
Yep.
7th generation. Do you know where that comes from? Anybody want to tell the story or the mission behind 7th
I think
generation?
it's Native American, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Yeah, that they try to live their lives so that everything that they do has a positive impact on 7 generations from where they're living. They're keeping their progeny in mind as they take care of the planet and the world in which they live, or we live.
Yeah, beautifully said. That's exactly the way it is. And you think about how they walked lightly on the earth. And when they took things from the earth, they used everything. They took animals, they harvested animals, and they used every single part of that animal. And, when we think about that and compare and contrast that with the food waste that we have in our world today, we have gotten very far away from that 7th generation through the conveniences that we've been provided. And we may be about to face a little bit of a comeuppance here and learning to think a little more like the Native Americans did, necessity. So yes, thanks for that. That's a great definition, great working definition of sustainable. So talking about just as an overview, selecting sustainable products, there are a couple of things to be aware of there when you go out to buy something. And the more educated you are about this, the better off you will be. I think that maybe it's just me. I have noticed in the last many years that I'm just becoming so much wiser to the marketing slants that I get, and I'm constantly feeling like I'm being sold. And I begin to catch buzzwords and recognize that there isn't anything behind the words. So beware the term greenwashing, which is another word for brainwashing, but in an environmental sense. So you will see misleading words like eco-friendly or green or plant-based. These are all words that may mean absolutely nothing in terms of their ability to walk it lightly on the earth. But they know that we look at those words. They know that organic or natural or sugar-free, those things all tell us, oh, these are healthier foods. And yet when you scratch beneath the surface, you recognize that they aren't necessarily so. The sugar-free items are full of lots of other things that make them not really healthy for you, a list of ingredients you don't understand. The organic standard has lots of workarounds. Natural doesn't necessarily mean anything. It has no standard definition. So the same goes for eco-friendly, green, plant-based, and so on. And packaging is a big deal too. If you've ever walked through the store and seen those things that are in a plain brown package, what does that convey to you? Minimalism, green, they're not using all the extra things, and maybe they're not. But it's also a really slick advertising, because you're going to go right to that if you're trying to find a green product. If you see leafy images on a package, it kind of conveys to you that they're thinking about the environment, and that may or may not be true. So We always have to be these researchers to find out. I find I go down so many rabbit holes sometimes, it's exhausting. But the better informed we are, the better choices we can make. Counterintuitive claims are another one when they say better for the environment. Begs the question, well, how so?
Wow.
So these are some things that we should be thinking about. Are there some other examples of greenwashing that you can think of that you see out there all the time that would convince you to buy a product because you're trying to make an environmentally sustainable choice? Thing that jumps out, or have you been caught, bought something and later found out that it really wasn't what it was cracked up to be in that way?
What about organic stuff? They say something's organic. How do you really know,
Yeah, that's a great question. Certified organic has standards. However, it's also been co-opted by big agriculture, and there's lots of ways around that. They can what do they call that? There's loopholes. So they can go through those loopholes, and big ag knows that. And in fact, these things get written with them in mind. So I think that one of the things that you can do is, with a little time on your hands, find out the farmers who are in your area. And honestly, this couldn't be more important at this particular time. This might sound frivolous or sound like a lot of work, but I think we are on the precipice of losing our real food world and handing it over to manufactured foods. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. I don't want to, go too far, but no more important now than ever to know those farmers and to find out about their practices, because what you'll find is you'll hear from farmers who are growing in the spirit of true organic, but they are too small to pay the costs of being certified. That's another hurdle for a lot of farmers. They can't afford the process and all the inspections and things. So you want to talk with them, and they'll tell you, they'll be happy to say to you, we grow pesticide free or chemical free, not necessarily pesticide free, because there are organic pesticides. I use neem oil. That's one that you can use. But they don't use glyphosate, that is Roundup, or some of the other harsher chemicals that will be bad for us and bad for all insects, instead of being ones focused on a particular pest. So they'll say chemical free. They might say that they are regenerative farmers. And if you get hold of a farmer who says he's or she's into regenerative agriculture, sidle right up to them and him or her and get close and find out more and develop a relationship and support them if you can. So at the best, at the grocery store, probably the best you can do, because it's so big and impersonal, is go for the certified organic product that's there. But if you have access to others, then I would say go to those farmer market and ask a lot of